Okay, let's start with that note. Uh, Again, I want to welcome our guest speaker, Ankit Jhamb. Thank you, Ankit, for joining us on a Monday evening again, especially on the month end, especially in the times which is the last quarter of the year. Thank you so much for taking out time and interacting with Inside I am an AltUni community. We welcome you
Thank you.
here. Uh, we have interacted a lot, but it's probably the first times where you are actually facing our community. So I hope we live up to your expectations, and I hope students also get out of as much they want out of this session for 45 minutes or 1 hour. Thank you again.
Thank
So
you, Mihir. Thank you so much. Very excited to be here.
super. So everyone, let me kind of quickly introduce Ankit Jam and what is the journey he's gone through till now. So Ankit Jam currently is the Chief Learning Officer of one of the world's largest consulting advisory firms, which is Grant Thornton. He has over 14 years of experience in performance consulting, learning and development, coaching. He's helped thousands of people to understand themselves better and through workshops and methods. Most of you would know, but for someone who don't know, Ankit is an author and he's written more than 4 books. He was recognized as one of the top 100 young HR leaders in India, top 50 influential authors, 100 under 40. There's a list of things. Probably I'll stop here and let him do the talking as I start asking him questions. But before we kind of get into an interaction, guys, the idea of this webinar is to educate, inform people on what are the new age skills in India today, how important culture in India today is, how important the learning mindset should be. Uh, Ankit himself has gone through this, and we are having a chat, and he said that, hey, I would love to share my experience and my perspective about why people should learn and why people should upskill. The way we are going to have this session is it's going to be a conversation. I'll ask questions to Ankit. Ankit, in his full capacity, being as candid as possible, will try to answer. In the end, we'll have a Q&A session, and if you are present till the Q&A session, you'll get a chance to ask questions directly to Ankit. So yes, let's start with not further ado. Ankit, it will help if you can quickly introduce what do you really do as a Chief Learning Officer. This is one of the new age designations. What do you really do in Grant Thornton? What are the challenges you face in, I would say, learning and development, leading the learning and development piece in Grant Thornton, and even the hiring piece as well. So, want to understand more about what you do, and then probably I'll shoot you with my questions from the team. Yes.
Yeah, it was. It's also the question my wife asked me before she got married to me, and she asked me this question very sarcastically. She said, "HR wale karte kya hai?" So for a large part of my life, I've been trying to put an answer to that. But thank you, Mihir, for asking that question. It gives me an opportunity to explain people that I'm very intellectual and hardworking at the same time. But here is the job role in simple terms without using nomenclature, which I'm very infamous for. Number one, you got to create an atmosphere for people to learn. It could offering them skills, awareness that they don't have skills, procuring skills through technology, various other methods. Skilling is the game of is at the heart of it. Um, Around skilling, in my role, I look at culture. When I say I look at culture, fortunately or unfortunately, everything and anything can be culture. But to be specific, there are certain behaviors which we expect our people to display. So our job is to ensure that they're displaying that. Our job is to ensure that the leaders are displaying and committing to a certain quality of behaviors which we believe are good for us, for people. So I'm the flag bearer of that. I'm the auditor of that. I watch out for that. We are also, I think, the rare organization in India, at least me here, we're running a very strong, robust intervention on psychological safety by making safe spaces for people where people can openly disagree. People can question our decisions. People can raise alarms, blow the whistle, display professional skepticism without the fear of reprimand. It's not an easy battle. That's culture for us. The third part of my role is I look at campus program. My job is to take the brand of the organization to every possible college campus student out there and let them know that yeah, we're a cool set of people trying to do some cool job. Does that impress all of you that I'm a very busy man as a chief learning officer and I've earned my title? Mir, over to you if you have any other follow-up question.
Absolutely. I have a lot many questions, but since you asked that question, I hope no one is responding, which means that everyone likes it. Let's assume that and let's move on unless someone specifically asks the question. Ankit, it will help if you give our participants a view about what Grant Thornton does,
Yeah, yeah,
especially in India. That will help to probably combine this perspective with what you do and what Grant Thornton does today and how big is the organization.
fantastic. Okay, so Grant Thornton is a professional services firm. For those of you who are unaware and don't know the terminologies, I'll share the terminologies and I try and simplify also. At least in India, most people think that Big Four is the Mecca and the Medina, which is EY, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. We have actually replaced this number, and in some pockets we are the third largest. In some pockets we are part of that large global consulting firms. That's from a competition landscape point of view. But here is how you need to, and here's what you need to understand of what we do. We're trying to help the government, which becomes a public sector practice policy. Uh, Through public sector, whether it is agri, whether it is sports, whether it is employment, whether it is working with the central and the state government to create policies, the firm's able to provide certain consulting services or advice to central and state government. That's the public sector practice. Okay, keeping the vision of vibrant Bharat in mind. There is a assurance business which is stat audit, where we have chartered accountants who would look at various financial statements and audit the financial statements based on a certain kind of methodology. Then there's a huge space on advisory business, which is also sometimes seen as the hot selling career choices. It has digital transformation, it has supply chain transformation, it is advising organizations on various growth strategies, expansion strategies, contraction strategies, selling companies to one another, looking at diligence of various organizations. We have a good practice which we've set up in the space of ESG, which is environment, sustainability, and governance. Now, if you look at the terminologies aside, if sometimes in colleges, and to my nephew actually once asked that, "What do you guys do?" So I said, if you have to manufacture a chair, somebody needs to tell you where does the material come from, where does it get sold, how will the supply chain be. We can do that. If you have to manufacturing a lot of chairs and you need economies of scale, a consulting firm can do that. When you have to stop manufacturing and you start manufacturing a table and you don't know how the supply chain works, we can help you with that. The moment you stop manufacturing a chair because you're going to losses and you to sell your factories to somebody else, we can advise you for that. So with every life cycle in a business, with every step, there is a consulting offer. There is a problem solution which is being offered to clients, and now you can apply this filter in product organizations, in service organizations. You can apply this filter in startups. It just gets more complex from there. This also includes
Super.
taxation advice. You want to set up business in Germany, we can give you an advice. You have Germans working in India, we can look at the tax structures and the tax implications. You paid extra tax through an organization, you paid less tax, you want to save tax. Insights could be offered. So that's how I'd like to simplify that. Always look at the business life cycle and see that a consulting organization like ours will have solutions to offer at every business life cycle step.
Super. So
First
does this
question has
mean
come
that
here. Do you hire CAs
so
for consulting roles only? Should I answer the questions by the
well,
by, or should I
let's take the questions in the end. I think the
take?
team will then summarize all the questions and then probably have a summary of questions to ask in the end. Let's do that. Uh, and we are taking a note of all the questions. So anyone on the call, please feel free to write the question right now. We will take it up in the end as time permits and try to kind of answer as much as possible. Uh, so if I hear it right, Ankit? Are you trying to say that consultants will always be in demand, or the job role of a consultant will always be in demand? Where do you really see consulting as an industry go from here?
Hmm. Hmm.
And within consulting, what are the job domains which are in these days, and you think that that's going to flourish for the next couple of decades for sure?
Fantastic. I think that question comes to me very often these days, and I have a typical response to that. I believe that the profession, and not talking about the professional, the profession of consulting is permanent in nature. Now, consider yourselves, at least if you guys are young and if you've not had a work experience, doctors never go out of demand. Uh, Professional services firms like ours are doctors of businesses. That's a simple way to put it. With more complexities at the macroeconomic level, with more complexities of running a business, with tax regimes, with government regulations changing, you need somebody to decipher, simplify, uh, and help organizations. With new tech coming in most organizations, specifically in the small and medium term enterprises and sometimes the large enterprises, also trying to struggle that how does it apply to me? Uh, Generative AI is a great example. Some years back, GST was a great example. Companies Act was a great example. Uh, they are not the subject matter experts, they are on the receiving end. So, professional services firms, if they are updated, up to date, they're on their toes, I don't see the profession struggling. But professionals can. That's the good news or the bad news. You don't reskill, you don't upskill, you don't understand tech, you're not close to the business, you're not close to the sector, you will struggle. The redundancy of skills will soon start to hit all of us. So I don't tell people that you will lose jobs because tech is coming. You lose jobs because you didn't match up the pace of your upskilling with the pace of how the tech was changing. Um, so that's the predicament all of us will. Profession is not going anywhere. Professional services industry, or if you kind of call it as industry, is not going to be challenged at any point of time. Just 30 seconds more. You look at any organization right now. You look at an organization as a use case which is closer to home. Everyone understand an organization like Pepsi selling cold drinks. Um, it's a great example because you're at the receiving end of it. Pepsi at this point of time is trying to think that how can they use robotics in their warehouses. At no point of time in the past they would have thought about it. Now, you might think that I did robotics engineering and I don't know where to go. You might think that I'm a supply chain individual and I don't know where to go. You might think that my background is in business excellence and cost optimization, but all of this is converging. And that's the mishmash which is confusing people. A supply chain professional now needs to understand the impact of robotics. And that in the context of FMCG, where you're in the business of putting cold drinks together and soft drinks together for the world, layer it by another layer of complexity. If there is any residual, ESG will disallow them to dump it. So they will have to now ensure that a bottle is packed with your favorite beverage, which is a soft drink, and is not harmful to the environment. And where at the factory level, there is gender balance. That's a lot of problem statement to solve for a single organization. Hence, you need consultants to solve for these problems. That's a long answer.
Super. So again, a follow-up to this is, you mentioned at this juncture, technology needs to be used most effectively, right? So, with the rapid advancement of technology, what are the emerging technologies or skills should a professional focus on to enhance their marketability today?
See, I'm going to divide this answer in two parts because I've had my own struggle with tech. At some basic level, everyone needs to understand, and you might not be a tech person or you might be a tech person, does not matter. You need to understand that what's happening in the space of tech.
Hmm.
Irrespective, तुमने कभी manufacturing facility नहीं देखा है, no problem, but you need to know additive manufacturing. You've never been to a fulfillment warehouse and you don't know how robotics works, then please go to YouTube and see what Gray Orange is doing. Is a great use case, okay, for clients. You haven't seen generative AI. Of course, you've used ChatGPT enough, and all of you would have. A level one basic hygiene understanding, okay, of tech is important. If I were to give you buzzwords, of course, generative AI, automation, uh, LLP, large language models, and you need to become comfortable with those. But without getting lost in nomenclature, okay, let's just go with that latest infatuation, generative AI. उसके बारे में पढ़ो. Nanotechnology and additive manufacturing, उसके बारे में बाद में पढ़ो. Robotics के बारे में बाद में पढ़ो. Basic fundamental of AI, उसके बारे में. Okay, number one. Number two, you will find a large subset of people जिनको पहली चीज पता है. I've spoken to many people, and I know that a lot of students can now talk about generative AI. Chat GPT can create PPTs, can write poems for my girlfriend, can write apology letters. I gave a poem. And somebody told me I gave an ugly poem to Chat GPT and said that Chat GPT, I want to propose a girl. Can you write this better? So Chat GPT came up with a nice, very glamorous looking poem, and he finally convinced the girl. So you guys are dabbling with Chat GPT in your own sweet ways. But the next challenge is when I ask you that can you do a data analysis of this data dump of 50,000 people for the last 10 years and use Chat GPT, you guys are taken aback. You say, what the hell? And that's the new problem statement, which is in your field of work, in your line of work, in your sector of work. Can you see the influence of Chat GPT across? That's our challenge. A sales guy who's been selling bulbs and a real estate is now trying to make sense of chat gpt in his her business. A marketer is trying to make sense of a lot of data which the firms capture, turning it into insights and reports, and he's trying to see that अब मैं अपने मन की और अपने दिमाग की सुनूं या फिर मैं ये stalking AI की सुनूं. Your challenge consistently will be seeing the implication of tech in your business or your line of work. If I were to explain this very simply, आप एक घर में रहते हो, ठीक है, अगर कोई आता है आपको बोलता है कि हम आपका पूरा घर ऑटोमेट कर देंगे, आपका सारा घर मोबाइल फोन से चलेगा. अगर तुम्हें अपने घर के स्विचेस के बारे में नहीं पता तो यू विल थिंक दिस इज साइंस फिक्शन एंड दिस इज हैरी पॉटर. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर फेसिंग दैट प्रेडिकेमेंट. अच्छा, ये भी हो सकता है, ये भी जिंदगी में हो सकता है. So get to a point where not just tech, you're able to see the application of tech in various industries. I've worked with consulting, but I got enthused with tech and application impact on so much on healthcare that I started reading use cases that how AI is reducing the turnaround time of detection of cancer and breast cancer to half, and to it's able to predict. So there is an impact on humanity where people are trying to at least solve for problems using tech. It's not just the glamorous word. Business में देखो, पहले business को देखो. So the long answer to Mihir, what you said, that I'm not worried about people not knowing about tech. I'm worried about people not seeing tech in their job profiles. I'm worried about people not being able to anticipate that यार ये काम 3 महीने के बाद 3 साल के बाद इस तरीके से नहीं होगा, और उसकी शुरुआत हो गई है. Uh, a lot of tax refunds which a few years back were filed manually in various consulting organizations are filed now by bots. Uh, and does that cause a job loss? Hell yes, it has the potential to eat up a job if you were sitting and hatching eggs and waiting for apple to fall on your head. But people who've learned to sell bots, that now as a consultant working in an advisory firm, I'm not just a chartered accountant, but I have a ITES portfolio to be sold. I need to explain to the client that जो काम मैं करता था अब बॉट करेगा, बट तुम्हारे लिए चेंज मैनेजमेंट और इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जॉब्स मैं करूंगा. They get it, and
Wow.
it's a clear value proposition for them. So that mind shift needs to happen.
I so relevant in every aspect in India and outside. And I think Grant Thornton is a large organization for, and we are a smaller organization, an agile organization, a startup. I think both this logic kind of or this concept applies everywhere today. That if you cannot catch up to what everyone else in the industry is actually demanding for, you will be left behind. Now, since everyone knows that, Ankit, right? Let me like take a leaf out of this. Since everyone knows that, What do you, according to you, are the qualities and skills required for an ideal candidate to get into consulting? Let's take Grant Thornton as an example, right? When you hire someone, what are the qualities you typically assess, or what do you really want in a candidate? Because it's transitioning, right? People are transitioning from doing a particular role in a certain way to a different way. So what do you really look in a person?
See, the first thing, any which ways, I think that's across globally, people would look at an attitude. Unless you've got 15, 17 years of experience, then I will ask about your bill book and how much money have you made, how large teams have you been running. That's a separate case. But if you are 2 to 3 years of experience, maybe four, trying to make a career shift, trying to foray onto consulting, I'm going to first check attitude. Okay. So there are very sharp behavioral indicators. Communication skills, while not a behavioral indicator, was one of the easily seen softer skills. And let me tell you, the nature of jobs in consulting are very largely dependent upon your client facing people. You will have to meet clients. Sometimes our folks don't visit our office because they're mostly positioned at client side. So your social skills, interpersonal skills, your ability to have a dialogue with somebody, those basic stuff um, is what is seen very quickly in an interview, that okay, the person can carry himself or herself, can hold a dialogue. Okay, that's first tick in the box. From an attitude point of view, I would look at how do people cope with pressure? How do people respond to multiple expectations? So I'll try and question people and to see when was the last time there was a conflicting experience and expectation between three people. Have you done multitasking? Um, that will give me some indication of the past experience, leading to some predictability of an attitude. In some cases, we also put them through a psychometrics or some sort of a test. The third filter is how much does the person know about consulting? How much does the person, and this is specifically for people who are transitioning, who are new to consulting, we try to know that सबको ग्लैमर अच्छा लगता है, सबको इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग करना है, इट्स द हॉटेस्ट जॉब इन टाउन, सबको डील एडवाइजरी करना है. बट हाउ मच डू यू नो, how much do you know about the clients? And that's my third filter. My fourth filter is I definitely talk tech. I'm not a techie, okay, but I tell people that जिसने पढ़ाई करी और जिसने मोहब्बत करी है, दोनों में difference होता है. Over the last few years, I've fallen in love with tech. I haven't studied tech. Okay. So my inquisitiveness and curiosity to see that what all can tech now do for us is beyond compare. So I vouch for that curiosity. That is the person self-driven enough to see that tech क्या कर रहा है, उसकी profession में क्या कर रहा है. I love conversations. I remember meeting somebody for an interview, and he came from a paints background. So he spoke to me about robotics in the hardware industry. So he said, तेरे को कैसे पता लगा? ये तेरी कंपनी में तो नहीं यूज होता है. He said, but I've been reading because there is so much happening. So I love those conversations where people are self-driven. They talk tech to me. So those are the three, four things one would look at. Uh, but in
So
consulting,
how
we're
do
also
how
driven.
do sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that we're also infamous for certain things. जैसे बहुत काम होता है, work-life balance issues. So sometimes people, out of their sheer insecurity, that consulting is very infamous for work-life balance issues. Is it that bad? Is it that toxic? So in some cases, I tell them that yeah, it's that bad. अब करोगे काम. Because I wanted to check that are you coming with a preconceived notion? You can't shy away from the fact that these are challenging jobs. These are the top
Yeah.
jobs in the country. Okay, you can't shy away that this is intellectually difficult. You are trying to solve for certain things which will require your cognitive best and your emotional best, and it's going to be taxing. All right. I'm not going to lie that it's going to be roses of bed, but I can also tell you that we are one of the rarest organizations to be great places of work. We are trying to sort this work life balance issue, but more than the work life balance, it's the intellectual stretch which you must focus on. Everything is just noise. ये खींचेगा और ये
Well
खींचेगा तो
said.
ही बनेगा. हाँ.
Well said. Well said. I think this is what our belief has been as well, and that's what we try to educate our community as much as we can. For people on the call and people who will probably look at this video, I think thematically we want every Indian today to upskill themselves
Yeah.
to a level which interests them, at the same time which is relevant for them to better their livelihoods, right? So that's been the intent. And I want to hear, Ankit, from you that now, since everyone knows that they need to change, how do they really go about it? What, according to you, is your opinion for someone to keep up to the demands, new age demands of consulting jobs or investment banking jobs or finance jobs? What do you think people should really do to keep up to it?
My ideology here is that of course you can do course shopping, but that's not the best practice. And during COVID, I saw a lot of people really going course shopping. They went to Coursera's of the world and they started shortlisting like 20, 25 courses. Don't do that. Just take a step back and ask what the career is. What do you want to do? Uh, Shortlist a few courses which are basic, which every individual should develop. Like I'll tell you something, digital dexterity, tech courses, every individual. It does not matter क्या काम कर रहे हो. It does not matter क्या करना चाहते हो. That's basic. Invest time in communication skills. Invest time in executive presence. Your social demeanor and your social presence needs to improve. So वो भी basic है. Third uh, is your emotional intelligence. We've not focused so much as Indians. I don't know why, but we're very obsessed with IQ. But if you realize that uh, people who are successful around me, they're successful because they consume stress well. They're able to talk well. They're able to and make sense even when they're stressed. They're not snapping back at people and they're not shitting bricks when shit hits the fan. That that inner core is your self work, and it's not just watching Ankur Wariko's videos. Okay, I just on a lighter side of life, but that self work and that personal hustle is very important, for which you need to invest in yourself. तो वो 3 चीजें तुमको इनवेरिएबली किसी भी प्रोफेशन में करनी ही पड़ती
Hmm.
है. Then, which sector? What do you want to do? Now, if you've been into real estate, you want to be part of real estate, then real estate sector के बारे में. If you've been part of FMCG, you want to go to a startup, please उसके बारे में. The more deeper you go, vertically deeper you go in that sector, about that organization, the kind of challenges they have, you will not have a problem cracking interviews. A large part of consulting roles are client based roles, and तुम्हारे घर कोई आएगा और वो बोलेगा कि मैं तुम्हारे घर को बदलना चाहता हूँ और उसको तुम्हारे घर के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता है. That's going to be an embarrassing situation. It's
Yeah.
basically just that. If you're trying to work in an industry and you're fascinated by ed tech, you're fascinated by insure tech, you're fascinated by health tech, just because 5 friends have done it, not good. This leads me to my final point, that plant people in your life who are living these lives. It's very
Hmm.
important to do reality checks. सबको consulting आना है, सबको health tech करना है, सबको अपना business शायद start करना है. You should speak to a Mihir, to a Ankit Doshi, to see that the kind of struggle they need to go through. So plant people who are doing it, who are living that life. Speak to them. What's a day in your life? How stressful can it be? Can I sign up for that? Don't make impulsive decisions. Build upon those hygienic, basic fundamental skills, and then you'll realize that you've increased your employability quotient.
Superb. This is great, Ankit. I think it's 7:33. We have spent half an hour. Can we take questions?
Let's take questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
So,
Tripti.
shall I read
Will
out the questions and start answering them? If that's okay, we'll be faster, I think.
sure, Ankit, that will help actually.
You've talked about skills required for consulting and IB. Could you please elaborate on how to build these skills? So in brief, I gave you the answer. Those are the 3 skills. Then there is a core skill to understand, meet people who are doing investment banking, understand कि वो, this course can help you, but what to do with, what are the valuation models, financial modeling, what are different ideologies, what's happening, what's a deal life cycle looking like, उसके बारे में सोचो, उसके बारे में पढ़ो. तो एक ब्रॉड बेस बनाओ, फिर जाके ऊपर उसको नैरो कर दो. So it's an inverted pyramid kind of a thing. If you don't have friends who are doing this, then I can connect you. If you send me a LinkedIn invite, I'll be happy to connect you with a few people. Most importantly, in these fields, you must ask people कि भाई जिंदगी होती कैसे है. When you go outside, you step on the road, chai pite pite tum jo baatein karte ho, have those kind of conversations. Don't fall for the fancy glamour only and say that ये नौकरी करने से ना अमीर बन जाते हैं. वैसे नहीं होता, किसी नौकरी से अमीर नहीं बनते. नहीं बनते हैं, टाइम लगता है. How can we show our interest to recruiters that we are interested in consulting, considering switch from a finance role? Actually, my recommendation there is LinkedIn is very important. You need to build your LinkedIn in a fashion that you're seen as a person with a vision towards your career. So you write about that, generate some thought leadership, make some content, write posts, and then your LinkedIn profile starts to come into the eye. Build a network, continue inside IIM and the other portals, which are job portals. They are really helpful. It'll take time. That's the bad news. The good news is that it does take time, and then it cracks. You need to find out opportunities for yourself. And network plays a very significant role if you want to make career transitions. Breaking into a sector like consulting should be not start with big aims such as Grant Thornton, or rather smaller firms to gradually move in. Abhishek, a valid confusion and a valid fear also depends upon what you've done in your past, what your profile is. Sometimes lawyers, for example, they get directly hired by large consulting firms. Sometimes people with environmental background, public policy, international trade, they get hired because there's always a problem statement to solve. So contextualize it. Okay, if you want to start with a smaller consulting firm because you think that it's easy to catch. But let me also tell you, then it's also difficult to make it big in a consulting larger consulting firm. Worlds are different, clients are different. So tough catch, difficult to answer with less information. Understand where you are, what brand have you been working with.
I think if I may just add, a lot of
Yeah.
questions are also getting asked in the spirit that how do you really acquire these skills? This is one of the things as a team inside I am AltUni have started. People who are on the call right now or who will be watching this video sooner. We run this program on management consulting and investment banking. These are the two flagship programs which we run. We understand the need of a person who wants to get into consulting or wants to excel in consulting, how to go about it. So it's a 3 month, 75 hours program. You need to invest 4 hours every week, which is literally 30, 40 minutes a day, or let's put it like this, 2 hours every weekend, and get to a place where you will be prepped for interviews, you will be prepped for how to kind of write your CV, how to create your profile, and then of course all the skills a consultant requires. It's been our flagship program for investment banking and consulting, and it's been more than 5 times both the programs we have done. So would love if anyone is interested, we can engage more.
Some tips please on how. Okay. On how should we improve communication skills? This one I'll try and pick. See, the best way to improve communication skills is just socialize, go out there, meet, participate in training workshop. Yes, you can take organized training workshops also, which help people with public speaking, facilitation skills. But if you were to ask me if you can take a few theater classes, I'm a trained actor, so I can tell you that a large part of my ability to articulate through the voice, make myself clear, comes from my theater. You can watch my plays on YouTube. They're still there. Some of them are shoddy, but yeah, you might like them. So do theater, join Toastmasters, grab every public speaking opportunity, and it takes a while, about 6 months, if you're consistent, to turn your speaking skills around. You would know that my English is an issue. Then you read more, you practice English, stand in front of a mirror, do that shoddy job of looking at yourself and just rehearsing stuff. Communication skills will come to you. It's not that difficult, but you got to be at it like going to the gym. Where shall you rate Grant Thornton in comparison to MBBs and the Big Four? Sneh, I'll actually choose to be away from any sort of comparison. We don't like to be called ourselves as Big Four. We've been the challenging brand. Sometimes there have been cases where McKinsey and Grant Thornton were together in pitches and we got it. Sometimes there have been cases that we displaced number three position. So we're very clear that we don't want to be categorized into any consortium or any bucket such as Big Four or Big Five. The quality of jobs vary, the quality of people vary, but we're very sure that we are one of the most culture-centric and people-centric organizations. That part I can tell. What is it to be like? What is it like to be a management consultant? What is the best part? What is the worst part? Best part is तुम्हारा LinkedIn profile बहुत अच्छा दिखेगा. Second best part is you'll be a great matrimonial catch in India. That's on the lighter side though. But a management consultant basically means that you can work in any industry, any organization, solve for various problems. You could be doing a revenue assurance or a revenue maximization project, cost optimization project. You could be doing an internal audit someday. You could be working on digital transformation. You could be advising somebody on growth and expansion strategies. Of course, not you, apart from a team with certain set of experts. 5 years, 6 years would pass, and then you'll realize that I'd like to specialize in pharmaceutical supply chain cost optimization. So that becomes your super specialization field. Excellent exposure in management consulting of various businesses, various problems. Excellent exposure to people, CXOs and CFOs, and listening with the CEOs and understanding things from their perspective. So your business acumen really becomes sharp. Also privy sometimes to confidential agreements and confidential information. So it gives you a kick. So there is social validation for sure. There is intellectual validation for sure. And yeah, like I told you, that there is also matrimonial validation. Can I How to switch from audit background to core finance role? uh, Manik, if you're a stat auditor already and you've spent some time, I know a lot of people who've done assurance and audit. They're financial controllers and CFOs. Industry is very open. If you don't want to do stat audit, you can do something else. I've seen people entering forensic investigation, forensic accounting investigation after their audit. I've seen people doing uh, deals and transactions work after doing audits. So you can, of course, you want to, at any point of a time, you want to do a CFO role, 10, 11 years, 12 years, you can get a CFO role. It's not a difficult job. Sir, IT business analyst can go from consulting firm. If yes, then it's enough. Have a BA certification or MBA is compulsory. Please share. See, I think it's never a bad idea just only to get one more degree, which is managerial in nature. Now, it does offer skills. But then again, I have both used cases. There are people who've not done their MBAs and they've become CIOs and CXOs and CISOs. These days is CISO also. They've had their own journey. Sometimes they do executive MBA. At some point of time, you do realize that an executive MBA or an MBA education is must. तुम हिंदुस्तान में हो, ठीक है, अभी भी डिग्री की अहमियत है. हालांकि मेरे पास कोई खास बड़ी डिग्री नहीं है, बट which is why I'm telling you, with all the gray hair, get the fundamentals right and then work like a donkey or a horse for the next 20-25 years. उम्र जितनी बढ़ेगी ना, उतना पढ़ना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. राकेश कुमार Hattayat is saying, I saw some memes that was MBA करने के बाद पैसा ही पैसा होगा. Is it right or wrong? राकेश, मेरे MBA के बाद तो मुझे नहीं मिला. ठीक है, ये अंकित और मिहिर बता सकते हैं. They passed out from some best colleges on this planet. So इनको मिला होगा. देख, so on a lighter side, it takes a while to make money, man. I've made money, but it took me a while, to be honest. So you got to be at it. Making money can't be the focus of everything. You'd realize this when you hit your 40s. So add value in a fashion that people value the skill, and then money comes. So MBA won't get you money. Okay, you'll have to probably rob a bank immediately after MBA to get money if the meme has to be true. But वो तो करेगा नहीं. So don't remain under that fallacy. We are
And
operating in a very job shrink economy. We are very buoyant when it comes to employability. But at the same point of time, India is a very competitive industry. Even the best of the universities and the colleges sometimes struggle to place everyone. And let me be honest there. So
and
the different,
I also have a similar thought, irrespective of whichever college you do your MBA from, unless you walk that path of continuous learning and skilling yourself
yeah,
and reach a stage, you will have to do it till the time you probably say that, okay, I've reached a stage. So don't be under an illusion that, okay, this is like a quick thing. I do a 2-year MBA, or I do not do a 2-year MBA and I just do a course and I'll start earning huge money. There is no easy way out in life. So yeah, I second Ankit, to what Ankit is saying. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
agreed, man. Okay, we'll take one more question.
Sure.
Hmm, some of these I've answered. So I have 19 years experience in pharmaceutical skills. How can I transit to management consulting? Uh, Mithun, initially your applicability will only be into the pharmaceutical sector where you can definitely transfer. Some of the consulting firms have sector specializations. Some consulting firms such as ours, we'll also have, like, we have an automobile specialization. So anyone who's invested their lives in automobile is very welcome, considering that there is a match. So position yourself and your profile in now from a pharmaceutical point of view, as an industry expertise. But when it comes to sales, you'll have to divide it. You'll have to make it super specialization that तुम sales में क्या करते थे, and does it have any direct relevance to what the consulting firms are trying to do. Consulting firms are not trying to revise how a medical representative is going to sell medicines. Consulting firms are also not setting up shops for clinical research organizations or running preclinical clinical trials. Okay, so consulting firms, yes, they can look at optimizing the cost of the medicine, can also give help on business expansion, can help on supply chain transformations, distribution. Uh, those are the problems we are trying to solve in the space of pharmaceutical. So, thoda sa yahan pe you will have to do a research and see that what part of my job, skill, and experience can be offered as a value to a consulting organization. If
Yeah.
nothing, then wait, build it up, develop certain more muscle which a consulting organization can use immediately, because you have 19 years, not 1 or not 5 years. And then try and position yourself in consulting. Sometimes it takes a while to sharpen your axe and get yourself ready for a consulting job.